All right, here we are. Sorry about that. A little bit of a delay. I'm sorry. I just saw some breaking news out of the corner of my eye. Officer Tom Manger, who is the chief of the Capitol Police, is giving a briefing on, I guess there's some another one of these protests coming to the Capitol. And Capitol Police Chief, there have been some threats of violence. Well, of course there have, because it's 2021 and that's what we do. We hit people with sticks and hi, everybody. It's me, Pugs Moran. Pugs Moran, and the show is called Pugs and Company. A little bit disheveled here. You may have noticed a little bit late. That's because we had a misfire. Started the show right on time at noon, but then I noticed that it didn't sound right, so I bailed out. So I didn't mean to have that little tease for you there, but we had to make sure the sound was good and all of that. Like I said, this is a work in progress. We do it 2 times a day here. We do it at noon, and we call this little show the High Noon episodes. And what we do is we just go through whatever's trending. This is your cheat sheet for the day. Whatever people are talking about, whatever. I'm sorry. I was just distracted by a new trend that just popped up. Swollen balls is now trending. So we'll have to look into that. And that's what we do here. Everything that's trending on the social platforms, all the news that people are talking about and gabbing about, we give you a quick little run through of what it's all about so that you don't feel, like you're missing out of something. People at the water cooler say, hey, did you hear about swollen balls? And you can say, well, yeah, actually, swollen balls. And then, see, I don't even know what it is. We learn this in real time together. Not entirely true. Some of this stuff, I'm prepped because you gotta have hot takes, baby. Gotta have hot takes. And speaking of hot takes, let's bring in my partner in crime. We call him Uncle Lee. What up, E?
Yeah, just hanging out here, trying to get through your little, I guess, what are they? Misfires?
Well, let me put
calling them.
No, let me tell you something. I'm going to stand by my decision to bail out in the middle of the countdown because it didn't sound right. Did you hear it on your end?
It sounded fine on my end.
It didn't sound fine on my end. And then, you didn't hear it going like it was buffering, like it was going in and out. So we just needed to reboot everything. It sounded great the time we just did it. So I feel better about it. Big Ed feels better about it. The Misfits family feels better about it. So here we go. No, it's just a couple of minutes late. And I know this is a big deal because we're going to lose you today because you've got some dad duties you got to perform.
Yeah, I got to go pick the kid up. He's got early release today. But
why? What's going on today?
I don't know why they get out early.
It just seems, I don't know.
Just they got early release. So no. I got to pick them up at 1, but I'll swing right back.
No, you will?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. I didn't think all right. Well, good. I look forward to that. James Parker, our partner in crime who joins us for the Pillow Talk edition, which is the second half of our daily offerings. That comes on at 10 o'clock at night, and we usually go to about midnight. That show runs Sunday through Thursday. So we don't do Pillow Talk on Fridays or Saturdays. And this show, of course, runs Monday through Friday. I've already had a morning, boy. I'll tell you. I was woken up at 4:45, I believe it was. Actually, it was 4:46. I looked at the clock. By the compound dog, Uncle E's dog. Apparently, the workers in the next yard showed up early today to think they're rehabbing the house that bumpers up to our property. And, chainsaws and, sanders and all that.
4:30 in the morning?
Yeah. I mean, they weren't being loud at 4:30 in the morning. CeeLo was being loud at 4:30 in the morning, but I guess she slept out in the backyard again tonight. We've determined that she truly is a swamp dog, right?
Yeah, she spends the night out. I feel like I've got a high school kid.
Yeah.
And if she's not home by 12, I got to wonder, okay, is she gotten out or is she back at your joint or is she staying out in the yard?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't blame her. I mean, it's 70 degrees. It's nice out. It's not hot like it used to be, but
she's got a big blue comfortable chair on the highest elevated part of the backyard. And I think that she has decided that that's her perch. She's going to sleep there. And should anybody try and come into our yard at any point during the night, she's going to be on point, which on some level I appreciate. Although she needs to be able to determine when someone is coming into our yard or when somebody is just a neighbor in their own yard. Because
Yeah,
Was
she's half crazy.
the elevation of the deck that she sleeps on. And again, it's a big, it's a really comfortable blue recliner chair, like from the 1970s that I found at a Goodwill. It was like in perfect condition. And she has turned it into her her chair. And I think she's chosen the chair for a couple of reasons. It's ridiculously comfortable, and it's also the highest elevated point of the backyard. So she can sort of patrol from up there. She can. I have seen her get off the chair, run to the side of the railing, stare at the big giant tree that we've discussed in other episodes. We have this massive pecan tree in the backyard, spot a squirrel, and then bolt like a racehorse down the steps across the pool and up to and then she'll just come back. Once she can't get the squirrel, because it's a squirrel in a tree, she's not going to get it. She walks back so defeatedly, like she walks back slow and then
Her
climbs
de-
back up in her tree or
yeah,
her
her
chair.
determination to get a squirrel is unlike any that I've seen
Yeah.
of like any of the dogs that I've had. Like she will bolt through the doggy doors, sit outside that tree, look up, almost literally try to climb the tree.
Yeah, she gets up on two paws with her front paws extended all the way up the tree, like grasping at it.
Right. Then you take a bone out there. She'll take her bone out there. She'll sit there. She'll lay in the sun, act like she's not paying attention to the tree,
Yeah.
and tries to lure the squirrels to get close enough to her to when at some point then she pounces almost like a cat. But unless we get a really old fat squirrel, I don't
Yeah.
think she's going to catch one.
Well, do you know what I noticed? Before this dog came into the house, there was a couple week period or maybe a few days, whatever. The previous dog wasn't really big at patrolling her yard the whole time that I was here.
Oh no,
And
my Great Dane Frankie, now she didn't care.
yeah. So what I noticed early on in my stay here at the guest house in the one percenter compound was that the squirrels had the run of the yard back then. There'd be 5 squirrels at a time running around on the grass collecting the pecans that fall off the tree. I mean, it was the glory days for the squirrels. Haven't seen that once since CeeLo showed up.
No, they live exclusively now on the top of the fence
Yep, the fence
and
line.
and, and the tree, and all their stuff is done high wire act,
Yeah.
and they chew the pecans up there and drop the shells on top of her literally, and she gets mad. I mean, when they fall on her, have you seen that when it hits her?
I've been hit by them when they fall. They
Yeah.
fall like little stones falling from the tree. And you've
Mhm.
got a tin roof on one part of your house. So when they fall from the tree and hit the roof, it makes a noise. It's pretty shocking, jarring, really.
It does. They're loud, but anyway. So yeah, she spent the night out.
So she started barking at 4:45 at the workers in the backyard, who were not disturbing any. They were just showing up for work, but somehow it woke her up and she went nuts. Remember how nuts she went when the mailman put the mail through the door yesterday?
We thought there were two. We thought a dog had somehow
Yeah,
made it into the house, and
yeah,
she was after another dog.
yeah. I mean, it was really loud and disturbingly loud. Like, whoa, that's a different. It was very similar. She has upped her bark game in the last couple of days, where
Most
now it's
ferocious, yeah, most ferocious bark of any dog I've ever owned.
yeah, and I think she's a pretty ferocious dog. I mean, she's loving to us, but I mean, I saw her go after the pool guy, and we need to keep an eye on her. Better yet, people need to stay out of the yard. People who don't know her need to stay out of the yard. I was worried because my son comes every couple of weeks, and her and my son have bonded pretty good. But I was worried, would she remember? And luckily, she totally does. She's like totally
Yeah.
cool with the kids.
Well, hell, the first week or 10 days she was here, we didn't hear her bark once.
Yeah, well, I think she was scared and, acclimating. She didn't know what was going on.
Right
She
now,
probably missed her previous owner. That was all she knew. And but now she's totally forgotten the previous owner, and she's down with you and your family and the guests you have here. So, that's good.
uh,
But so she's barking like a crazy dog at 4:45, and it wakes me up. And the door of my bedroom is like 1950s door. I mean, it's a real door. It ain't one of these apartment complex, balsa wood doors. This door blocks out all sound. So she was barking so loud that I heard it from a deep sleep at 4:45 in the morning. And I went out there and I'm like, what are you doing? And the door was open and I intended to send her home, but I also didn't want her still out there. So she just came in with me and she slept on the floor right underneath the air conditioning until about 7:30 when she started barking again. And that's when I'm like, okay, go home. Just go home. And I've been up since then.
And then I got here about 8. That was about 8:15, and she came bouncing through the doggy door. And
right when you came home, she's probably waiting on you.
Right.
She's like, hey, there's a bunch of dudes in the other yard. Don't worry, I got it under control. Welcome home, Dad. But I didn't know she was out there sleeping all night. And I don't know if those guys are going to be working that early. We can't be doing. I can't be getting up at 4:45. I'm gonna have to put something on that chair so she doesn't sleep on it.
It's gotten to the point where I don't, if she's not in the house in her bed up here, we're in my bedroom, like if she's not here, I just assume she's at your place. Like,
yeah, I just assume when she's not here but the truth of the matter is that she's usually roaming around the yard all night. And I wonder, what if she has a secret exit where she just gets out and goes partying with the other neighborhood dogs and coyotes?
Comes back at about 4 in the morning.
None the wiser. We're none the wiser. You think she's here? I think she's there. It's,
like sneaking out the window at your parents' house.
Yes, exactly. Oh, this dog. I love this dog. This dog has character. You ever decide you don't want this dog anymore because she's too much of a pain in the ass? I got her. I got her. We'll take her. Although she'll still be here because I live here. So
I was going to say, I don't think she's going far.
Right. Yeah. All right. So another thing happened to me this morning. I talked to, and I haven't talked about this publicly because I've been kind of laying low on it, but you know this, and some of my close friends know this. The initial idea when I moved down here was that I'm working on a book project that I've been working on for about a year. And I'm very passionate about it. It's a book project about the history of the Chicago White Sox. I'll leave it at that. And my publisher, editor, I should say, well, he's also the president of the publishing company. So my publisher editor is someone who I love, someone who I adore, someone who I've been a fan of personally. He's a radio icon himself in the Chicago area before he got into publishing. And I've been kind of afraid to tell. Well, okay. So the first couple of weeks that I was here, I was really diligent. I was working really hard. I was like, all I'm doing is writing. I sit there and I write. And then the idea was that, well, I'd get my kid for a month in July, and that'll be great. He could be out in the pool. He's self-sufficient now, and I can be writing all day. That didn't happen. That didn't happen with a kid around. It was just not working out for me. And then I stopped smoking weed and I got, completely sober. And then there was like a whole couple of week period where I was like, I don't know if I can do this without being completely relaxed and comfortable and free with my thoughts. So everything that I wrote in the first couple of weeks there, I scrapped and I said, I can't do this. And the deadline initially was August 31st. And then that passed and he didn't hear from me. And Rick is also friends with our boy Ed from Radio Misfits because Rick has a couple of really good podcasts that he does in his spare time. Like I said, he's a radio guy. He does one called Minutia Men on the Radio Misfits network. Does another one called Free Kicks, which is a soccer Premier League soccer show. And like I said, he's not just some hack, some kid in his garage trying to play radio. This is a real professional radio guy who knows exactly what it is. So his shows, if you're ever on the Radio Misfits platform, which we hope you do because we're a part of the Misfits network, check them out, radiomisfits.com. Minutia Men is a really good one that's really interesting. It's about the minutia of things. It's one of those ones that are great on a long car ride. Where if you just want to like zone out, stare at the road and just like learn fun facts about weird stuff. And
it's not going to get staticky after about 50 miles one way or 50 miles another.
Yeah, you're not going to get the signal drift where you're getting half one station and one station from Waco and another half station from Austin or wherever it is that you're traveling through. So, as I said, August 31st was the original. Then we pushed it to some degree, or at least I then it became like, okay, well, maybe November, but it couldn't be November. What if they were in the World Series? We want to time it. And so I finally had my conversation with my editor, brief conversation today, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. I came clean. I said, look, man, I'm so behind. I've got these other projects that I'm working on. And so that has been a huge, huge thing on me. Oh my God, I got to talk to Rick. I hope he's not mad. I hope he's not mad. So we extended the deadline, and so I got a little more time, a time where I'm absolutely going to be able to finish the project. So that was my morning. My morning has been so pretty good so far. I do this to myself.
So when's your first writing session?
Probably tonight. I mean, I have been writing, at least trying to do one bio every day. Initially, I was doing like 15 bios a day, but that became at some point like school detention. And like the first 5 that I would write would be really good, but then 6 would be like, when you start looking, all right, how many more do I got to write to reach my goal? Then the quality starts suffering. You start to, and half the stuff, I noticed that half the stuff that I wrote that were in the bottom 5, like the last 5 bios that I wrote of any given day, were just shit. They weren't as good. I wasn't doing the research properly. I was cheating. I was being cheap with it. So I told him that. I'm like, look, man, I got a whole bunch of stuff, but I keep going back and rewriting these things, and I'm never satisfied. And the problem is that this is going to be a companion book to a book that he put out a couple of years ago that was very successful about the Cubs. So he said, the whole thing came about because he had success with this Cubs book. And he said, look, the White Sox are suddenly a very popular team in this town, and they're starting to gain popularity nationwide, and they're going to be good for a few years. Let's get a book out to coincide with this rise. And so I said, yeah, and I was very excited, and it is really so much work, man. I mean, I wonder if I almost think that this kind of work where you're researching history of things and history of players and stuff like that, I wonder if that's more difficult than sitting down and writing a novel. Because when you're sitting down and writing a novel, you're making it up as you go along, and it's whatever your brain creates. But with something like this, it's half whatever my brain creates, but also half has to be, founded in fact. So there's a lot of research, and it's fun though. It is a labor of love. I'll put it that way. It is a labor of love. So that has been my day so far. Let's see here. Let's go into. Well, here's what we're going to do on today's show. We got a whole bunch. James Parker's going to come joining us because he's going to leave, but then he's going to come back. We look forward to that. So we may even do the first time ever the 3-man show here. 3-man show has become a regular thing on the Pillow Talk edition at 10 o'clock. Here it's almost always me and Uncle E, but James will be moved in. He's got hot takes. So, he's going to have hot takes on all the topics that we talk about today. We're going to have a Gabby Petito update. There's not a whole lot of fresh news.
Petito.
What did I say?
Patino.
I didn't say Patino again, did I?
Yes.
Oh, my God. I'm the absolute worst. All right. So we will do a Gabby Petito update as well. There are some things that have changed. But what do you say we just get into the trends? Let's see what is trending today. Okay.
Tina says her dog has gotten several squirrels.
Well, her dog is better than ours. That's but I think that'll change once our dog is crafty. She'll figure out a way.
She's not crafty. She starts barking as she's headed out the door.
That's true.
Like she's like giving the alarm
Right.
before she even gets within tree range.
It's almost like she feels conditioned that she has to scare the squirrels, but she has no real interest in catching the squirrels because she's self-defeating in the way she does it. She doesn't lurk. She doesn't hide.
No.
She just, from 50 yards away, will roar, 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 roar. And she's got that crazy half howl, half bark. Have you noticed that?
Oh, her bark is insane.
Yes. It's like half hound dog, which is, it's like that. And then other half like pit bull. It's like a mixture of those two kinds of barks.
Mm-hmm. The only time she's sneaky is when she lays there in the grass and eats her bone and tries to act like she's not paying attention, but paying attention. Like that's the only sneak she has. Short of that, she's barking if she's coming at you.
You mentioned it earlier. It is funny the way she overreacts to falling pecans. It's
Oh.
like when a pecan falls from the tree, she is on point. What was that? What was that? And then she notices it was a pecan.
It's
And
like
she
she
goes back
almost
to her
feels like
world.
the squirrels are throwing them at her.
Yeah,
You know, it's
we
like
don't know that they're not. We
she
do
holds
not.
them responsible for pecans that drop on her.
Look, I guarantee you that a good portion of the pecans that fall and clutter the backyard, and we're talking about pecans that fall at about 500 a day. That tree produces some pecans. The pecans that fall, a good percentage of them are caused by the squirrels just running around up there. Got to
Oh,
be
for
right.
sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. But
So in some way, she is. She is being bombarded by the squirrel. Squirrels know what they're doing. So don't got a long history talking about squirrels. We know squirrels know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. Ooh, okay. The allergies are really bad again today. I'm not going to complain about it because we can push through. Oh, allergy season in Texas. Oh my God. Nothing freezes. All right, let's see here. Let's see quickly what is trending. Netflix is trending. I don't know what's new on Netflix. I'm not sure. There's the Netflix is trending. Watch Joe set his sights on a new target in the chilling first trailer for what is this? Let's click on it. For You. I don't know what You is. Do you know what You is? I don't know what You is on Netflix.
no.
Yeah, it's a lot of political stuff trending today. There's a tree, apparently the oldest tree in America, 2,500 years old, that is being wrapped in tinfoil because apparently it's in danger of being destroyed by a forest fire. It's wrapping it in tinfoil. Apparently that's something that the experts want to do.
2005 years
Yeah.
old.
Yeah.
Imagine the amount of rings. That's
How does
2005.
no 2,500 years old?
2,500 rings if you were to slice this tree, right? Isn't that what we learned? Like for every year that the tree is, it has a ring on in the wood.
Yeah, we learned that, but I'm not entirely sure that that's true. You know, that's like one of those things that you learn as a kid that you just lodge away with the name of your 7th grade girlfriend's mom, and then you just bank on it as fact. But I don't know how tree rings work. That's probably a myth, wouldn't you think?
I mean, I kind of am doubting there's 2,500 rings on this tree.
Well, I guess years are calculated by the sun and us. So maybe that would I don't know, but that's what's happening. So there's a tree that's the mayor of San Francisco is trending. Yeah, mayor of San Francisco. I don't know who this person is, but their name is London Breed. And I swear to God, London Breed was like a mod band back in the 80s from England. I felt like with Spandau Ballet and stuff like that. I thought London Breed is the name of the mayor of San Francisco. That's kind of a cool name. She's in trouble. I'm guessing it's a she. I don't know. She's in trouble because she got caught. San Francisco has strict mask mandates. So she got caught without a mask, because that's what we do. We got you, people. Dua Lipa, she's touring. Do you know who Dua Lipa is?
I do. She's taller, used to be a model, now a singer. Attractive.
Oh, really? She used to be a model? That's her claim? That's her thing?
That's
Model singer?
my understanding.
Hawaii is touring. You've been to Hawaii a number of times, right? I believe your wife lives there or lived there for a period of time.
She did, and then I got married to my first wife there, and I actually went there. Yeah, I've been there two times.
How many?
Many times.
So you've been there a few times. Our boy Ed with Misfits, he goes to Hawaii like every year. That's like his getaway place where he likes to.
Good place to get away.
Is it?
Yeah.
Never been to Hawaii. Got to be honest, no real interest in going to Hawaii. I think I can replicate everything that Hawaii would give me with the Bahamas, and it's much closer. It's much closer. I just don't like, or Mexico. Hawaii seems like if I ever found myself there, I'd be like, okay, this is interesting, but I wouldn't buy it. I don't, too much water. I'm flying over way too much water. I get nervous flying to Europe, but at least that's, you're flying over some chunks of land at some point. Too much water on a flight to Hawaii. That would make me way too nervous. My anxiety would go nuts.
I would say that it's not the same. I get your thought process that it's an island and it's surrounded by water, and but it's a different type of water. Like it seems like it's bluer, and the beaches are cleaner, and the sand is different, and the foliage, like I mean, it's like the mountains that you can see in the background are unlike things that you would see in Mexico or in Jamaica where it's kind of flat.
Yeah, so are the Rocky Mountains. I've been to the Rocky Mountains. That's pretty nice. That's pretty beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It is different there, but it is a haul. And I think the other thing I like about it is it's 6 hours behind. So you're almost forced by the time zone to not be engaged with people that are here, in the States. Like they're almost in bed
Yeah.
when you're enjoying 6 o'clock in the evening.
Mhm.
And so it forces you in a way to kind of detach from your cell phone and from the electronics. And it's like you're in another part of the world that just isn't really turned on yet or is way behind. Let's
Yeah.
just put it that way.
My next big trip that I will probably take with my son will be to and I've already strategized this out. It will be to my 3 favorite places to visit on the planet, and that will be Iceland first, which is in the middle of the ocean, so I'm not having to cross the entire ocean. It's just like sort of a little jump up through Canada. We're going up the East Coast, and then we drop ourselves about 3 hours into a flight over water. We drop down in Reykjavik. So we'll be in Reykjavik, and then from there we're going to jump over to Dublin in Ireland, one of my second favorite place in the world to go. And from Reykjavik to Ireland, it's not like flying from New York City to Ireland or from Chicago to Ireland or Dallas to Ireland. It's half the trip because you're already leaving from Iceland, so you're already up there. And then the third favorite place is London. And London is only like an hour flight from Dublin. So that's easy. That's how I would. I honestly have difficulty flying really long distances over water. It freaks me out. My anxiety goes a little bit nuts.
Yeah. I've never made it to the UK.
You've been to Europe, though, haven't you?
No. Have
Oh,
not.
wow. So you've been to Asia. You've never made it to our the place of our people, the place of our white Caucasian people.
I've been to Hong Kong. I've been to Bali, Hawaii.
Yeah, see, those are super exotic, but never Europe.
Mexico, but never Europe.
You never been to Paris?
Never Paris, never Italy. I need to go to Italy.
Paris, yeah, you need to go to Italy. That should be a trip. You and Dom should go to Italy and just sort of embrace the culture that your family comes from. Although that's more Brooklyn Italian than Palermo or anything like that.
Exactly.
But hey, it should be fun. Should be fun. That's my big trip with my kid is going to be we're going to get in touch with our Irish roots. I've been promising him that for a while. Of course, I need to have more income, so we'll work that out maybe at some point and make that trip a reality. Okay, so Hawaii tourism is trending because if you remember a couple of months back, the governor of Hawaii said, tourists, stay away. I know that our entire existence is based on tourism, but this pandemic is crazy. You people are just making it so hard because tourists are coming from all over. All kinds of people love Hawaii, even the unvaxxed. So they said a couple of months ago, Hawaii told tourists to stay away. Did they listen? Well, let's see. Last month, Hawaii Governor David Ige, I-G-E, Ige, I don't know, made a plea to tourists, put travel plans on hold until at least the end of October. The highly contagious Delta variant had increased the state's hospitalization, straining the system. Our hospitals are reaching capacity, he said, and our ICUs are filling up. Now is not a good time to travel to Hawaii. Ing's message didn't stop tourism altogether. Just before Labor Day, travel to Maui exceeded pre-pandemic levels. Well, that makes sense because you don't just decide to go to Hawaii in a week. You book those trips months in advance.
Yeah, but you also probably could have got your money back. You probably could have
You know,
said, "Hey, the
nobody
governor said don't come."
nobody's that responsible. Nobody, you've been dreaming of your Hawaii trip for years, and suddenly the governor says, "Hey, cancel your trip." That ain't a reality. You know what I mean? For some,
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
uh,
I would think if I had saved all my money to go to Hawaii and the governor said it's not a good time to go,
you'd go.
I think I would probably go, well, man, I've been looking forward to this. And if I get there and it's only half open and a lot of the things I want to do are not going to be operational, it's not going to cost me any less money. It's costing me the same amount of money. Why do I want to go with 50% or 70% or 80% of it being operational? They're not charging me 80% of the money. Still don't have you convinced?
No, I think you'd go. I think everybody would go. People don't, they don't bog off. I mean, that's a big trip. That's not going to Florida to see grandma at spring break. This is something. Hawaii's an expensive trip. It's something that people plan long in advance, and I just don't think the governor's saying.
But it's like it's one in a lifetime, for a lot of people. And why do I want to go when it's not hitting on all cylinders?
Yeah, I guess other people, maybe other people don't have expectations of cylinders the way you do. You know, Yeah, you know what I mean? Other people just want to go to say they're in Hawaii. You're a big baller. You you want to go and do all these things that big ballers do. So maybe in that respect, it would be a little disappointing. But for mom and daughter in Des Moines, Iowa, who have been collecting tips for a year to go to Hawaii, they ain't like the girl with the fake vax card.
All
Remember?
right, I'll give you one. Okay.
Okay.
You're going to the prom.
Yeah.
And your girl says, I don't want you to have any ideas about going to the prom. You're not going to get laid.
Okay.
Would you rather go to the prom with the opportunity of getting laid, or would you rather go to the prom knowing that you don't have the opportunity?
Well, I went to the prom and didn't have the opportunity, so there's your answer.
But
There is your answer.
were you told prior that
I
you had
I
no
knew.
shot?
I knew. I
Okay.
mean, I suppose every pervy 17-year-old boy has the, well, maybe if things go the right way, but I knew who I was going with. I knew it wasn't
But if
happening.
it was totally off the menu,
Right.
you're less excited about going.
Yeah, I suppose.
I don't know how I turned it into that, but yeah.
Yep. Because you're a dog. That's why. All right, let's see here. What else? Okay, Greece is trending. I am skipping
The
over
the movie or the country?
no, the movie. Oh, that's good. Yeah, the play Greece. Greece is the word that you whatever. You a Greece fan?
No, but I've seen it enough.
Yeah, I've seen it too. I'm not a musical fan, but boy, when I was like 8 years old, everybody's sister that I knew was Grease crazy. It was very much a girl thing, and I identified that early on, and I was like, yeah, nah. I'll just go binge watch episodes. Binge watch in '78, right? So what am I thinking? But no, I wasn't into that. I was not into Grease. Eddie Deason, the actor from Grease. Now, Eddie
So it
Deason.
is Grease the movie. It's not Grease the country.
No, it is Grease the movie. Grease actor
Okay.
Eddie Deason arrested after throwing plates at police in a restaurant. Here, you know what? Here, let me pull up Eddie Deason for
So
you.
he was in the movie Grease doing a Greek-like act, and that's what he got arrested.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's very throwing plates in a restaurant is a very Grease-like thing. All right, so here I will pull up just so you know who Eddie Deason is because he is one of the most recognizable actors from that era. He's probably the original nerd before we had a name for nerds. Yeah, Revenge of the Nerds sort of brought nerds into the. Was he in and Revenge of the Nerds? He very well may have been. All right, so this is who we're talking about because you guys will go, "Oh, I know that guy." So here, let's do this. All right, let's bring up Eddie Deason. There he is. This is who we're talking about. All right, you know that guy? You know, this guy. Look at that face. Look at that guy.
Was that Grease? No,
I don't know.
that doesn't look like him in Grease, though.
Okay, here. So let's move through. It's yeah, I don't know if there are any. Maybe I just put Eddie D's in Grease. That'll. But you see the guy, you know that face, right? That guy was in a bunch of '70s movies, '70s and '80s movie. He always played like a super nerd, as you can see. I mean, what else would he play? He's not exactly a leading man. Yeah, there's his little nerd doll. Was he in Revenge of the Nerds? That is an interesting thing. I don't know. Let's see here. You know, let's do this. All right, before we get into his hijinks. All right, Grease. There we go. Let's pull these up. Yeah, that was him in Grease. See? There he is.
Oh yeah. Okay. I
Hey,
remember
that
the
guy.
scene. There we
Yeah.
are. Yep.
All right. So what is Eddie Deason getting into these days? Grease actor Eddie Deason arrested after throwing plates at police in a restaurant. Okay, maybe that's what the problem was. Not doing the whole Grease. If he had done it as a floor show and it was fun and everybody in the restaurant was like, but it sounds to me like the police got involved and the plates kept flying. Actor Eddie Deason has been arrested for assault following an incident at a restaurant in Maryland. The actor, who's best known for playing Eugene Felsnick in 1978's Grease and its sequels, caused a scene at a restaurant in LaVale, Maryland, on Thursday. And refused to leave. This is all according to TMZ. After police were called to the scene, here, we'll keep that up. After police were called to the scene, it's claimed Deason had to be forcibly removed after hiding behind a woman in a booth and refusing multiple orders to leave the premises. He was drunk, right? These are all drunk moves.
Yeah, something's got to be going on.
Deason reportedly threw numerous items, including plates and food, at police, striking one of the deputies. The actor was eventually removed and has been charged with second-degree assault, disorderly conduct, and trespassing. Earlier this year, the actor was accused of harassing a Maryland waitress over Facebook, where he allegedly commented on her fake eyelashes. It's not really harassing. I thought it was like, you know, hey, I'm a famous actor. Do me. You know, it's not exactly. He's just being a jerk. Where he allegedly commented on the fake eye. It is unclear if the two incidents are related. Well, maybe he's stalking a waitress. Deason later accused the waitress, Carol Lashbaugh, of spreading rumors about him, adding that he was being cyberbullied by her friends. Who's gonna cyberbully Eddie Deason? You know, or unless that's kind of his whole MO, right? I mean, he got bullied in Grease. He was the nerd. Let's see here. Adding that he was cyberbullied by her friends. The posts with the allegations have since been deleted. Aside from Grease, Deason has starred in Midnight Madness and I Want to Hold Your Hand and led his voice to Cartoon Network's Dexter's Laboratory. They've reached out to Maryland for police. They've reached out to police for comments. Okay. We've got James coming in here. Let's bring him in. Let's get rid of...
Sounds like he just missed a good old high school food fight.
Yeah. Hey, James Parker, welcome to the show.
Hey, good to be back. Hello, Emil. Hello, Pugs.
We were just talking about Eddie Deason. Do you know who Eddie Deason is?
Got to tell into that. He was I saw the dork picture of him in Grease.
Yeah.
And I love when it transitions to where his dork goes so to the core that even in cartoon form 30 years later, he's a dork on Dexter's Laboratory.
Yeah.
Even as a voice actor, he can't even voice a cool person.
When I was very little and I saw him in movies, it was always to my 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old mind, he was very funny because he was so awkward and geeky. And we didn't really have a name then. I don't think we didn't call them geeks or nerds or that kind of thing. I think nerd started with Happy Days, right? Fonzie, nerd. I mean,
but that's still what, late 70s?
Mid 70s, yeah. So maybe I want to say that like in the 60s, people were called dweebs more.
Really?
Yeah. What do you remember? What do you remember about the etymology of nerd? Or
I remember nerd. I remember for some reason, if you had a pocket protector, like the pen thing, you were referred to as a nerd.
Mm-hmm. But I think that was more 80s. I think that came in with Revenge of the Nerds.
I thought it was always there because by the time I was cognizant, nerd was very widespread in everyone's vernacular.
Look, when I was a kid, if somebody wanted to give a derogatory term to another guy, it was always the F word. It was always the, it was always the pejorative for a homosexual. If you saw your mom and dad kissing, you'd be, Mom, stop being a fag. It's like totally a misuse of the word, but we used it for everything. And then suddenly nerd, dork, dweeb, geek, all of those sort of popped up.
Well, some of those pejoratives, I miss them. I wish they would come back, because like we used to they're called ADHD now, or hyperactive, or whatever they call the kids they put on Ritalin, on the spectrum maybe.
Okay.
But back then we just called them a spaz. He can't sit still. He can't pay attention. He can't focus on a lesson for more than 5 minutes without having to mess with his desk, or mess with someone next to him, or just mess with his own clothes, or write on the desk or something. That's a spaz. If you
can we not say spaz anymore? Is that
no? You can. I just don't hear it, and it's so useful because it's been replaced by what's like a medical diagnosis. Oh, he's ADHD. No, he's a spaz.
Well, okay? I can see like spaz. Spaz comes from spastic convulsions, which is a medical condition. So I guess
Well, that, or he rides the short bus.
Yeah, maybe. Hey, you got to get out of here. I hate this. We were
Peace out.
No. I mean, I don't want you to be late picking up your kid from school. That's not.
No. He needs to hang out.
Yeah. So we're gonna jump into.
I'll be back.
We're gonna jump into the Gabby Petito thing here, and so we're gonna miss a little bit of E. That's the problem. He may come back at the end. We'll see if he makes it. But here, let's say goodbye to E. There we go. And now it's me and Parker for the rest of the way. Let's do the Gabby Petito update. How you feel about that? You good with that?
I'm definitely okay with it. I just don't have a whole lot of new information since midnight last night when we last talked about this.
Yeah, I do. There's a couple of new things that came out. We won't spend a lot of time, but it's a perfect excuse to play your Gabby Petito song, or I'm sorry, Brian Laundrie song. This is an original, and it's the new theme for our rotating, revolving, ever-evolving Gabby Petito, Where Is She? Brian Laundrie bit that we're going to be banging into the ground. Here's James Parker's Brian Laundrie.
You see me lately on the
You like that? Talk it right up.
Cause everybody's looking for some clues. People all up in my views. They want Brian Laundrie. A YouTube actor living in the van for a year. I don't have to look good, and that's why she's here. Gabby punched me in my ear, cause I'm Brian Laundrie. Won't talk to a mom, won't talk to a dad, won't talk to the cops, won't talk to the feds. Won't talk to a mom, won't talk to a dad, won't talk to the cops, won't talk to the feds. I got the unstable bleach blonde, screaming and crying. I got the cops on the roadside, patiently trying. Make us go our separate ways, cause I'm Brian Laundrie. When I get back home in Gabby's van, she wasn't with me, now everyone is mad. Who killed the Utah lesbians? It's not Brian Laundrie.
I just got that line. There it is. Brian Dirty Laundrie, the song. Penned by the multi-talented. I'm getting my program director here is criticizing me. Big Ed, owner-operator, Radio Misfits. Okay, that was a great talk up, but unlike actual radio, we can all see you during this song. Yeah, okay. Okay. I was just trying to prove that if there's anybody out there that doesn't think, hey, Pug's not a radio professional, he can't talk a song up and hit the post. I can. That's actually a game that me and my kid play on long road trips. We use Spotify, and he'll challenge me. He'll say, okay, try and talk this one up. And I amaze him with my ability to hit the post on absolutely any song that he chooses with one exception or one caveat. Can't be any song that was made in the last 20 years because I'm old. It's got to be at least something from the 90s, 80s, 70s, or 60s. But that's
well, I hear that all the time on the streets. People are like, I bet Pugs can't talk up a song and hit the post. I bet
that's the word. And it really bothers me because
all the time. I'm glad we finally put an end to that.
Look,
Tired
man,
of hearing it.
let me tell you something. It's a skill. I have very few skills, but I can hit the post on a song. Any song that we need to talk up, my kid will tell you, that's not true. That's not true. You have screwed up because, okay, there have been a couple of instances where, I screw up. But for the most part, I'm pretty good at it. And if he was being honest, he would tell you that it impresses him. Because whenever I hit it in front of a long car ride and I really nail one good, he'll sit back in his chair and go, that was good, Dad. You did that good. Yeah, so.
Your kid cares about post talk ups. My kids think anything radio related is dorky because Dad does it. Like they don't care. They don't care about any of my skills or that I get to meet like celebrities every once in a while or get tickets to crap. They don't care. They don't think any of this is cool because Dad does it.
My kid doesn't have that same experience because for essentially his entire life, I haven't been working in radio.
Oh,
he just hears the legends, and every now and again, when he mentions somebody, like I'll give you an example. This was before Ralphie May passed. He was telling me, Dad, have you ever heard of Ralphie May? Because my kid loves comedy. He just loves it. Dad, have you ever heard of Ralphie May? And I'm like, well, yeah, actually, Ralphie's a friend of mine. No, he's not. I'm like, yes, he was. You ask your mom. And then he's got to, confirm it. And then, his mom will say, yeah, okay, he knows them. And so I try to impress my son with those things. But, being in radio as long as I have, there's a good chance that if he tells me about a comic that he likes, especially one that's been around for a while, I'll say, oh, yeah, I hung out with that dude. No, you haven't. One of his favorite bands now is the Old 97s, and he refuses.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. He's a cool kid, man. He's got good tastes. But whenever he plays Old 97 songs, he says, oh, I bet you're going to tell me about how you know these guys, too. I'm like, in fact, I will. It was St. Patrick's Day, Greenville Parade Day in 19. Yeah. So I always try and scoreboard him with that stuff. Excuse me. Okay, so what are we doing here? Gabby Patino.
Well, you have updates that I don't know about because I've been working all day. So get me updated.
Okay, well, first let's go through the timeline here. Okay, there's a new timeline that has been established for those people who aren't following the Gabby Patino case as closely as we are. Gabby Patino disappearance timeline of search for missing 22-year-old Northport woman begins on July the 2nd. Patino, Gabby, and Brian Laundrie start their road trip. Petito and Laundrie left Blue Point, New York on Long Island on July 2nd for a cross-country road trip to national parks out west in Colorado, Utah, and Wyoming. They documented their travels every step of the way in photos and videos posted to YouTube and Instagram under the name Nomadic Static. Interestingly enough, almost all of those Nomadic Static videos on YouTube have been wiped away except for one, which seems like a Now, isn't that interesting? The question that I would have on the YouTube situation as they were YouTubers, did YouTube take those videos down and leave just one? Or did they purposely take them all down and leave just one that's very generic?
I think he took them all down.
You do?
I do. I don't have anything to back that up other than when YouTube takes videos down, they either take down a whole channel or a video that's in violation of something or other.
Yeah.
So really, I think the only exception to that rule would be if the police or probably the FBI asked them to take down these videos. I don't know if they don't want to taint the potential jury pool or whatever, but there might be some investigative reason or they want to hide this evidence from everyone else in the meantime.
You're right about that, because what I was going with was the theory that you floated a couple of nights ago, that what if this is all just a publicity stunt for a bunch of YouTubers who are trying to get noticed, which the more I think about it, the question becomes, is that something that a YouTuber would do? And I'm like, yeah, I think it is something a YouTuber would do. There is so many kids in Gen Z that are just so desperate to be influencers that I don't know where their line of integrity is. I have no idea. The idea that she would be actively pursuing that as a promotional device for her YouTube career is, I mean, it seems like she's a real, it would be a terrible person who would do that, considering the trauma that her mother and father and loved ones and family and stepdad and all of those people are going through right now. So that's the only thing that makes me not believe that. However, if we're to say that they voluntarily took these videos down, that would play into that. Like, why would you get rid of all of the videos except for one that is very generic and sort of a sweeping overview of the trip, no specific destinations? But with that said, the FBI getting involved in all of that, maybe they didn't want locations of where they had been being, because maybe this story is one of these things where, people are now becoming amateur Sherlock Holmes, and you got a lot of people, maybe they don't want people flooding these areas looking for clues and all that and traipsing across potential crime scenes. And so, I don't know. These are the questions that need to be asked.
But it also lines up with the majority opinion that this dude killed her and he's covering his butt.
July 2nd, the Patino Laundry road trip begins from New York. The next piece of the timeline is August 12th, where the argument in Utah occurred out in front of the Moonflower Co-op. On August 12th, Petito posted photos twice on Instagram from a visit to Arches National Park in Moab, Utah. That same day, Moab City Police responded to a witness report of an argument and physical altercation involving the couple. Now, this brings us to one of the new developments that we have here. There is a Gabby and Brian adjacent story from the Moab area around that time, where two lesbian married couple were found murdered in the desert, or I don't know if it's a desert, whatever it was, whatever they got up there, tree, whatever.
It was a campsite though. It was outdoors. It's not like they were in a motel or hotel or Holiday Inn.
Yeah, they were found murdered outside. Now, why is that adjacent to the Brian Laundrie, Gabby Petito situation? Well, it's because both of the murder victims were at one point employed at the Moonflower Co-op, where Gabby and Brian were on the 12th, where police were called on them for a domestic disturbance. They were at the Moonflower Cafe for, I believe it was between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. So it's a long stretch. Gabby was, according to the police raw video, Gabby explained that she was working on her YouTube career. She was uploading stuff and editing stuff, so it took a long time. Brian had told her that he doesn't believe in her, that she doesn't think she's going to be able to pull this off. And
wait, how do you know that?
Because she told the police, one of the first things she told the police when he pulled her out of the car and talked to her initially, she was like, I'm sorry. I was just mad. Sometimes I get crazy. I get mad, blah, blah, blah. And then she explained why she got mad, because Brian didn't believe in her. Brian didn't think she could do it. That was one of the very interesting things that she said first. And he doesn't think that I can do it. And, we were just fighting about that. So they were fighting in the Co-op, which is a cafe and healthy food store. Yeah, hippy dippy business that has no real business model.
Yeah, they sell like green tea and tree bark and roots and stuff.
But apparently they have free Wi-Fi, so people hang out there between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. Now, back to the adjacent story of the lesbian married couple. Oh, I'm about to lose my TV. Oh, darn it. All right. Where was I? Okay, so Kylan and Crystal are the two lesbians that were killed. Both Kylan and Crystal worked at some point. Kylan worked more. It was Kylan's everyday shift, but Crystal also worked there. Kylan and Crystal are the dead married couple. They were there. One of them was there. We're not sure which one. Oh, actually, no, we do. That's part of the update. It wasn't Crystal who was working. It was Kylan who was working, the younger one of the married couple. She was working. She would have apparently witnessed the altercation. Her shift ended an hour and a half before 3 p.m. So she's probably there for the morning shift. She probably saw the very bulk of all of their fighting and all that. Although if she left an hour and a half before, maybe she didn't, see the eruption that spilled out onto the street that had bystanders calling police on this couple. We had been wondering if the bystander who reported this to the police could have been one of the dead lesbians, right? That was something that was out there.
Okay.
And the police report listed the name of the complainant. And a lot of times the person who calls the police, they can do it anonymously. Well, this person didn't, but the police simply put down the name Chris. Chris is the person who called the police. Now, a lot of people were speculating, maybe that's Crystal. Maybe Crystal goes by Chris because she, like me, thinks that Crystal is an awful name. Just no, not an awful name for the individual, but the behavior of crystals historically has not been anything that's great. Crystals are always causing trouble.
It's sort of the female equivalent of being named Cody. Like, we don't know who's going to cure cancer, but we know it's not going to be Cody.
Yes, that's right. It's not going to be anyone named Cody
or Crystal.
Or Crystal. Yeah. So what we've learned is that the person who called the police, Chris, is a male. Okay.
Okay.
And this was a guy who was on the street, not in the Moonflower. And the Moonflower Co-op has been saying that it wasn't one of our employees that called the police, although we did witness what they described as an explosive argument inside. Okay, so there's one thing. That's the timeline that brings us to August 12th, where the argument with between the two happened, and then police pulled him over. Yesterday's big news was the release of the police body cam footage, where we got to see both Brian and Gabby. And we all had more well-rounded ideas of who these people were, at the very least, because it was an hour-plus video, and we got to see the way they interacted and the way they behaved. My takeaway from that was that they seemed like a nice couple. I mean, they seemed like a nice couple who were having fights. Who doesn't have fights, right? I've been divorced twice. So that brings us to now August 21st on the timeline was Gabby Petito's last FaceTime with her father. 9 days after the reported incident in Moab on the 21st of August, Joe Petito said he had his last FaceTime call with his daughter. He said he helped her order food in Salt Lake City. So this would have been in the time that Gabby was left alone in a hotel in Salt Lake City, the Fairfield Inn, and Brian Laundrie. We don't know if this was pre-planned. We don't know if she knew about it, or we don't know if this was just spontaneous. But Brian Laundrie on the 17th of August flew back to Florida, ostensibly to help his father move their stuff back into the house from a storage shed that they were paying for. Dad supposedly said, look, there's no reason for you to be paying for this storage shed. I thought you were going to be gone for just a month. If this is going to be going on and on, why don't you just come on and move it back into the garage? Now, reports are from Brian's sister that stuff was moved from the storage shed back into the house, but not Gabby's. Gabby's stuff was, which would suggest a breakup.
He's prepping a breakup, yeah.
Yeah, or to backtrack a little bit, they were engaged. Then there were reports from the mother. Gabby's mom spoke to the Daily Mail and said that they were no longer engaged. They had broke it off because they felt they were too young, and that they were going on this trip as just friends, and that they were going to just take it slow from this point forward and see where it goes. Now, because Gabby's mom said that, that means that I imagine Gabby at some point had a talk with her mom about it, which means it was probably Gabby's idea, which you'd have to think maybe Brian wasn't completely, it's never mutual, even though you tell your friends it's mutual. So, that led me to believe that maybe Brian thought, okay, so we've broken off the engagement, but I've got this long trek across the country to win her back, that kind of thing. So, that brings us to the last FaceTime with Dad. While Brian was back in Florida, she apparently called her dad and he gave her some money for food. There were no red flags that popped out, said Gabby's dad. I'm trying to wrap my brain around and Monday morning quarterback it. You know what I mean? Still nothing is popping in my head. So the last time Dad spoke with Gabby, August 21st, there was nothing weird about it, just his daughter asking for some money.
And then when did he get back from Florida?
So this was on the 21st. Brian left her alone in the hotel room in Salt Lake City between the 17th and the 23rd. So he was in Florida for almost an entire week just to move stuff. And, as Amel pointed out, Uncle Lee said yesterday, that story doesn't hold water Because if they were moving the stuff out of the storage shed back into the house to save them money, because there's no reason they should have a storage shed. We cleaned out the garage and now there's room there. You can just put it in the garage. If that's the reason, why on earth would you pay for a round trip plane ticket from Salt Lake City down to Florida to save money? That alone is going to be $500, you know, or something like that.
Right. So, but all that means is the real motivation for this act wasn't to save money. It was to facilitate the breakup that had already happened.
Yeah.
And kind of finalize it. Like they had been fighting so bad that he knew this is over before they even get back home. He don't even want her in the house.
He had come to the realization, regardless of what he'd hoped about patching it up, at some point, this suggests that maybe he realized it was not going to get patched up.
Right. So now the question mark is, why the hell would you fly back to Salt Lake City if you've already broken up with her, had fights with her, the cops have been a problem already, you've moved all her crap out of the shared storage shed, and you're flying back to Salt Lake City for what? Just to finish your little blog, your road trip?
No,
and is it a real road trip if you take like a break for a week and fly off?
The first thing that comes to mind for me is to kill her. That's why I go back to Salt Lake City. He's angry. He knows if I can't have her, nobody can have her.
What, his dad's gonna be a part of that though? Yeah, let's just move this out. So when you kill your girlfriend,
well, I don't think he would tell his dad that. He probably told his dad, "Look, Dad, it's over. We're gonna leave her stuff there. Her family's gonna pay for the short stay."
Here's something else that doesn't make sense. She's in the middle of making her little YouTube blogs of this road trip. If he goes to Florida, she can still drive a van. Why didn't she continue the road trip and getting?
It was her van. It was her van, not his.
Of course, that's what I'm saying. Why doesn't she continue the road trip? Why does she continue going around filming stuff and getting stuff done instead of wasting a week? You know, apparently these kids might be on some sort of budget somewhere.
Well, because maybe she didn't fully realize that Brian had turned a corner on what the future of the relationship held. You know, I believe that she wasn't interested in him. I believe he won't drink water out of plastic bottles. He's got dirty feet. I mean, all this stuff that we saw in the police raw video tells me that she probably at some point in this road trip went, "Oh my God, I could do so much better. I am an attractive young woman. I can do so much better. I do not need to settle for a guy I dated in high school." You know, and that's you see that a lot. You'll see like a very beautiful 30-year-old woman with some really dumpy guy, and you realize they've been together for 15 years because back in high school, he wasn't a big, dumb, dumpy guy. He was captain of the football team, but now he's a mess. She's a hot, she's hot. She can do better. And people,
so why did he go in the first? Why did she have him go in the first place? Did she need him to make these videos? Did she need him to hold the camera or to run the drone or some sort of editing expertise?
No, I think that she was handling him. I think that she wanted to do the trip. They had planned the trip together. She wasn't going to be his, life mate. She had already made that decision. But, string him along.
He can pay for a lot of it, do some of the driving.
She doesn't want to go alone. That'd be scary for a 22-year-old girl that looks like her to just go and hit. And what parent would allow that? You're going to just head out with no destination and I'm going to rely on cell service to know that you're okay. Yeah, I don't know.
At this point, I'd let my kids take the Oregon Trail. Y'all just go.
Just go. Just get out. Leave me alone.
Start your own life.
All right, so now let's move to August 30th. August 25th was the last FaceTime conversation with her dad. August 30th.
I thought that was 21st.
No, 25th. The 21st. Yes, I am so sorry. Yes.
And then he got back on the 23rd, killed her.
Yeah.
So what's the 25th?
August 21st was Petito's last FaceTime with her father. August 25th was Petito's last conversation with her mother. That's it. Okay. Then on August 30th, Petito's mom, Gabby's mom, received the final text from her. Quoting now the mom, "The last text I got from her was on August 30th, Schmidt said. I don't know if that was her texting me or not." So the mother is not 100% convinced that on August 30th, the text that she received from Gabby's phone was in fact from Gabby. So on August 30th, which is interesting with the timeline coming up, on August 30th, that's the day where the mom went, "Oh, this is weird," right? So now, fast forward 2 days later, September 1st, Laundry is back in Florida with the van, but no Gabby. Now, the drive from where he was supposedly on August 30th in Florida would take 36 hours nonstop. So that matches up. That's almost like on the 30th, Brian had already done, if the mother is right that it wasn't Gabby and that Gabby was already missing by the 30th, Brian would have sent the text from where they said it came from, because they were able to ping it somewhere outside of the Northern California or something. It would have taken essentially a day and a half to get all the way back to Florida if you drove nonstop. So he sent the text. If we're believing the mom, Brian sent the text from Gabby's phone telling the mom that we're out of cell service and she's not going to contact him for a while. And then immediately 2 days later, based on the travel time, he's back alone. So that would support that wasn't her that sent that.
Yes, and it's also fits in the behavior pattern of someone who just killed his girlfriend and needs to get the heck out of here before the cops can track him down so he can make it back home. He would drive nonstop. If he had the girl with him for any part of it, they'd be having to stop every 2 hours so she can go to the bathroom or get something to eat or just want to go outside and get some air. Maybe she's having one of her little fits and she just cries.
Yes, so, an emotionally unstable girl like that, you do not drive 36 hours straight without taking a break. I mean, the car ride would be a nightmare.
Assume that he was not with her for any of that, and it was already done and fits the pattern of someone who did off her.
Jeff in the chat room suggests she included him on the trip because he was useful.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. She had a little butler.
And it seems like and he was a simp, he did, I love her. I mean, did you see when they were on the roadside and the cops said that, and now the roadside incident was Brian was the victim. It was determined that Brian was the victim of domestic abuse and that Gabby was the aggressor. And at some point in the roadside, when they said, we don't want to have to take her to jail, the cops said, Brian said, talk about being useful. Can you take me to jail instead? Brian suggested, and the cop said, no, because there's no charges on you, dummy. It was like, why would we take the victim to jail? But he was willing to go to jail for her, which is just, a monumental simp move.
Yeah, and this is perfect use of the word simp here. This is why it's so useful and it's become popular.
It is, and thank you for alerting me to that. You and my 12-year-old son alerted me to the new word simp. Okay, so on September 1st, Brian returns home to Florida. Northport police, who are now the lead agency in the missing person investigation, say Laundrie returned to his parents' home with Gabby's van on September 1st, but no Gabby. On September 11th, Gabby Petito was finally listed as missing or reported as missing. Now, here are the other details. Another detail that came out. We were wondering why it took so long between, if the parents knew, if Gabby's parents in Long Island, New York, they lived in New York, if on September 1st, Gabby's parents in Long Island knew that Brian had returned to Florida, which, may not be the case. They may not have known till the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, whatever. Our question was, why did the parents wait so long to file the missing person report, right? We thought that was curious.
I don't. They're not getting any answers from this guy, and they don't want to pull the trigger too fast and get the cops involved. And then they start getting worried, and they start talking to Brian's parents, who aren't actually answering questions, but they're at least probably having some sort of conversation.
No, none. She reached out via text and phone calls. Calls all went straight to voicemail, and no texts were ever answered. So
by the parents too?
By the parents too, yes. That's why they put out the press release a couple of days ago, basically shaming the parents about how can you be complicit in this? How can you, So anyway, so here's why. None of those reasons are why it took from him being back in Florida without Gabby on September 1st to the police report being listed on September 11th. The police wouldn't take the police report because she was a fully grown woman who everyone knew was on vacation. She wasn't a missing person in the eyes of the law until that many days later when they finally went, okay, now we can file her as a missing person. So it wasn't, a lot of people were saying Gabby's parents were, well, how could they be like that? And apparently they had tried almost immediately to file a missing persons report, but were told by the police that we just can't do this because your daughter, I know she's your daughter, she's your baby, but she's a 22-year-old woman who everybody knows is on vacation in areas where she might be out of cell service. We cannot put out a bolo on her because she's a grown woman who can make her own decisions. So it took some time for the police to sort of let it all formulate and go, okay, now this is suspicious. We need to get involved. So that sort of absolves the parents of a lot of criticisms that I had heard about Gabby's parents as to why they waited.
Yeah, and that all makes sense. That all is true.
Yeah, I mean, this is happening in real time, so none of us are experts on the law. I didn't think about that, but now that I understand that, I have heard of that before. We can't file a missing person report; they're not missing yet. You say just because you can't find them, just because you can't find your daughter who went on a cross country, party trip in a van, doesn't mean that she's a missing person. It just means that she's heading to Coachella and she's taking a lot of Molly, and she's a grown up, so we can't really harsh that buzz for her. On September 15th, Laundrie was finally named a person of interest. Now, the other interesting thing that needs to be noted is that when Brian returned home, we touched on it a little bit, Brian's not saying anything about where's Gabby. He's not even going, he's not saying anything. All right, so that brings us, and on September 16th, which was just yesterday, the Patino family began begging for help. During a Northport Police news conference on the 16th of September, yesterday, Chief Todd Garrison voiced his frustration with the lack of answers on Petito's disappearance. 2 people went on a trip, 1 person returned, and that person that returned isn't providing us any information, he said. Garrison added that there is no criminality suspected in the case at this time, and police are only investigating a missing person case with the sole focus of finding Gabby Petito. Now, of course there is criminality suspected, but the police cannot say that because Brian Laundrie has lawyered up, and on the
all circumstantial, they don't have a shred of evidence.
Exactly.
Right.
So that the cops are sitting around in their little cop tank at the station going, he did it. We know he did it. How do we get this kid? But they can't go on camera and say that because, slander. Stuff
yeah,
like that.
It'll be a slander issue if it is something like they were climbing up the side of some cliff and she fell off and died accidentally and he just wigged out and drove home and clammed up because that's what his lawyer told him. I mean, there is a possibility. I don't think it's probable, but it's possible he did nothing illegal up until this point. And there would be a similar behavior pattern too.
All right. So now here, this is something new that I will share with you. This is new information. Okay. This is new information as of today. This comes from Andrea Olson, who is a reporter for the East Idaho News Bureau. And this is breaking as of this morning. Andrea Olson, by the way, she's a good follow. If you want to try and follow, you can follow her on Twitter especially if you're into this case, because she's
my East Idaho contacts are lame anyway. So
well, now you got a good one. At East ID News. That's the account for Andrea Olson, the reporter who's on this. At East ID News. She reports new information. I just talked with the owner of Rustic Row in Victor, Idaho. Here is what she told me about Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie. Brian and Gabby came to Rustic Row. They told me they were traveling from Florida. They had just been to the Tetons, so this puts us, in late August, around the time when she cut off conversation with her parents, right? Brian and Gabby came to Rustic Row. They told me that they were traveling from Florida. They had just been to Teton Park, and they said they were interested in going to Yellowstone next. And I told them they could go to the west entrance. They seemed happy, and when they left, Gabby hollered back from the door of the van that they were engaged. And I said, congratulations. The owner of Rustic Row said Gabby and Brian spent about 15 or 20 minutes in the store and that they were there either on the 25th or 26th of August in the afternoon. Now, that's a new wrinkle because the mom told the Daily Mail days ago that they were no longer engaged in that they had broken off the engagement. But now at some point around the 25th, Gabby's all excited again and telling strangers, we're engaged.
So this fits in with like the manic depressive bipolar behavior pattern where everything's great one day and everything's awful the next day. And one day you're screaming to strangers, we're getting married. The next day you're explaining to the cops the scratches on your boyfriend's face.
Yeah.
So I mean, that doesn't make her look good, but it does also give him more of the opportunity to get super mad at her, because I imagine he is not always as calm as he was talking to the cops. If she's going to get that elevated, he's probably screaming back at her, and they're just building each other up, which is why they're so bad for each other.
Or maybe, and let's just go along with this, follow me down this road. Maybe she started to sense that, Brian was starting to get that they weren't going to be together anymore, that this break off of the engagement was legit and that he wasn't going to be able to win her over. And maybe she started to get afraid of him. So at some point she just went back to, maybe we should get engaged, just to manage his mood if she was afraid of him in any way. Does that make sense? You know what I mean?
No, because then she wouldn't be shouting it to strangers.
No, but she would. That's a show. She's putting on a show so that he believes that she's really into it and excited.
Well, when he flies to Florida, why didn't she just hop in her van and get lost?
I don't know. And that's the other thing. The dates that he was in Florida put him in Florida the 17th through the 25th. And then, well, okay, I guess this will work. Because if this happened, the person at the Rustic Row said that this occurred on either the afternoon of the 25th or the 26th. So I was thinking that those times didn't really work out, but I guess they do. If they checked out of the hotel on the 25th, and the 25th was also the last time. I'm getting confused because of the details, but so let's say it's the 26th and not the 25th. That was one day later. He came back from Florida. I'm sure they had a long talk in the van about what he was doing in Florida. Tears began flowing, and maybe she decided, maybe we should get engaged because, he had just moved his crap out of the, you know what I mean? I mean, look, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Both of these people may have been manipulating each other in one way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, I like that. We're getting ourselves inside the van on the last days here.
Yeah. Okay, and so now let's try this one. Let's see what this is. Is this the one I wanted? It is. Okay, so yesterday I said that there were no one of the reporters covering it drove past Brian Laundrie's house, where Brian is holed up with his attorney and his parents, not saying a word about anything. And I said, why the hell aren't there 1,000 news vans parked on the lawn demanding a statement, demanding some answers? I was shocked because the video that was shot by the reporter just drove down a quiet suburban street with no action going on, nobody doing anything. Well, that changed this morning. This morning we got a whole new thing going on here. All right, let's watch this. These people are out in front. Let's hear what they have to say.
I think it's just
here they are. Some locals are now demanding that they come out. Truth always comes out. Would she bring you home?
Why do you feel it's important to be out here right now?
Oh, let's listen.
Well, we live just 2 minutes down the road, and Northport is such a family-friendly community. And
quick question: which one? It's a mother and daughter. Isn't it almost difficult to tell? I would say they're two sisters. Doesn't that look like two sisters and not a mother and a daughter?
Yeah, but I mean, they just both look so generic.
Generic Florida.
Yeah, and well, it's also, this is such a family-friendly neighborhood. You're literally protesting your neighbor on his own front lawn. That's not very friendly, and high-fiving each other when you're walking down the street. You're openly condemning a guy on his own property with big signs in front of the media. It's not really the definition of friendly. That's not.
First of all, you're being very liberal with that. I think that they are reacting. These are the friendly neighbors reacting to the person who did the unfriendly thing in the neighborhood first. I mean, come on. Coming back and not speaking that's the unfriendly thing. These people are just saying, this is a friendly neighborhood. You're doing unfriendly things. But I digress. Here we go.
This is my daughter here, and we know everybody in this city is so family friendly that we would do it if it were our daughter. We would speak up for somebody who's missing or in danger possibly we know nothing about. We are really saddened by this whole situation. We can't believe it's so close to home. I think it's just a terrible thing that he is not speaking up and saying anything for the family to hear, because that's just, our city isn't like that. That's not Northport. Northport is family, and we're all here to stick together. So we want to try and speak for the family and let them know that they're not the only ones that are praying for their daughter and wishing that we find her safely. We're all coming together for her.
All right. So first of all, I take exception to that. I do not believe that any small community in Florida is Mayberry. There's a whole lot of crazy shit going on everywhere in Florida. So stop trying to pretend like you're in the middle of Iowa. You're not. You're in Florida. That's the craziest state in the country. But secondly, if you were, you and I, we come from the world of radio. Hey, man, it's the morning show. If you were a local radio guy, wouldn't you be doing promotions out in front of there? Wouldn't you be sending listeners out? Hey, man, going out to Brian Dirty Laundry's house. Give us a call live on the. That seems like a natural. Why is it just two people out there in what appears to be daybreak?
What do you want them to do?
It
Set
seems
up
like
a remote or send a stunt monkey out there to call in from the yard? Or
radio is no fun anymore. Radio, they don't come up with these ideas. That's what
that's
happens.
what we'd be doing. Is that what we?
What happens when you cut budgets? We'd be doing it very seriously. Actually, I cannot tell you how crazed I am about this story. I am so. I mean, I keep refreshing the Gabby feed on Twitter just because I need to see whatever. Here, let's do that now.
Look, you need to start spending some time into this Murdaugh case out of South Carolina.
I was looking at that, but it didn't steal me away from the latest news.
Right.
And again, so the latest things that we have here in the Gabby case is, one, we now know that Crystal, the dead part of the dead lesbian couple that were found in Moab around the same time that Brian and Gabby had their public fight, Crystal is not the one who called the police. That person was listed as Chris, and we now know that that is a Christopher, not a Chris. So it's a guy who did that. The other thing that we now know is that on or around the 26th, they were at a place, Rustic Row, outside of the Tetons, and they had a nice encounter with a shopkeeper there, and the shopkeeper described them as being happy, so happy, in fact, that as Gabby got back in the van, she shouted, "We're engaged," and the shopkeeper said, "Congratulations." So that is different than what we were led to believe from the mom, who spoke to the Daily Mail on the 15th and said that they had broken off the relationship because Gabby felt they were too young and were moving too fast.
Hang on, what'd you do? The Rustic Row Facebook page has been taken down.
Well, it probably got bombed. It probably suddenly
how am I supposed to get my clues?
Everybody wants to know what Rustic Row is all about. All right, so any other takes on this? Are you pretty good?
Well, the weird part is how little we had to mention the double murder of the lesbian couple that happened and overlapped in the Moab area. Are we just separating those now? Because we did put some distance between these two stories with the Chris detail, but the fact still remains that Moab hadn't had a murder in 5 years, and all of a sudden they're going to have 10
years. There hadn't been a murder in the county and Moab for a full 10 years before suddenly, within a 48-hour period around the 12th through 17th of August of this year, they've got 2 dead people and a missing girl. So
it's just going to be just an incredible coincidence. Is that what we're looking at?
Man, coincidences happen.
They do. They do.
And at this point, without anything that truly ties the two together, we just got to look at that as a red herring. We just got to look at that as something that is just going to distract us.
Not only did they have 2 murder events, 3 murders possibly within a small span after 10 years of nothing, they actually had an overlap and interacted with each other within days of it happening.
Yeah, Moab's a small town. Yeah, look, man, don't drag me back in. I'm trying to stay focused on the timeline. I have decided this morning that the details that are coming in regard to the timeline that we've already established are the most important thing. I'm not going to get distracted. I am not. This is too important to me at this point.
Yeah, but you're going to nail this post.
Oh, geez, I didn't even think about. Hey, it's Pugs and Company. I'm Pugs. That's James Parker. 31 minutes after the hour here in DFW. How about a song about Brian? Dirty Laundry, Misfits.
You see me lately on
All right, I wasn't ready for it that time, but
you may do. You did it.
Looking for some clues. People all up in my views. They want Brian Laundrie. A YouTube actor living in the van for a year. I don't have to look good, and that's why she's here. Gabby punched me in my ear, cause I'm Brian Laundrie. Won't talk to a mom, won't talk to a dad, won't talk to the cops, won't talk to the feds. Won't talk to a mom, won't talk to a dad, won't talk to the cops, won't talk to the feds. I got the unstable bleach blonde, screaming and crying. I got the cops on the roadside, patiently trying. Make us go our separate ways, cause I'm Brian Laundrie. When I get back home in Gabby's van, she wasn't with me, now everyone is mad. Who killed the Utah lesbians? It's not Brian Laundrie.
oh, there it is. That is from the hit factory of James Parker, Brian Laundrie. Telling you, that's so good. That's so good. You're gonna make Don Henley some money.
Yeah, that's my Don Henley impression. That's
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah. Okay, so here's I don't want to ruin people's lives here, but this Rustic Row in Victor, Idaho, that's really far from Moab.
A day's drive. Well, they were in Salt Lake City. How far is it from Salt Lake City?
Oh, okay. Ooh, I guess you could make that in a day.
Yeah, because remember they left Moab sometime between.
How far is it from Salt Lake City to Idaho Falls? 214 miles, and so it's a little bit further than that. Heck yeah, that's a day drive.
That's Dallas to Georgetown or Austin,
New Orleans,
further than Austin. Yeah, something like that. All right, so you could totally make that trip. All right, let's see what else is trending here. It's Constitution Day, James. Now I know that you are obviously a constitutional scholar. How are you? How would you be celebrating Constitution Day?
Well, the one big shortfall in when people celebrate the Constitution is, there's big supporters of the First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of assembly, freedom of religion, pretty big stuff. And there's a lot of people who get really incensed about it. Then there's a whole crowd of people that are really big into the Second Amendment, guns and whatnot. And then the Fifth Amendment, the people who like to maintain your privacy and you can't testify, don't have to testify against yourself. There's big fans. There's even 10th Amendment people who are really motivated to spread out the federalism, to take a bunch of the powers that the federal
States'
government
rights
and put
is
it
the
to
10th
state.
Amendment.
But I don't hear anyone, not one person these days, ever gets worried about the Third Amendment.
Oh, stop right there, because that was going to be my test for you. And obviously, because everybody talks about the First Amendment. Everybody will tell you about how wedded they are to the Second Amendment. My pro tip for anybody that wants to shut these know-nothings down when they act like they're just so into one amendment, ask them simply, okay, so you're really into the first and the second. Can you tell me what the third Amendment is. What is the third most important thing in the Bill of Rights? They can never do it because Hannity or, Joy Reid or whoever, they never talk about the Third Amendment. So all of these people who are so on the fringes and completely down with the important ones, freedom of speech, freedom to protest, or guns, gonna have my guns, whatever it is, ask them the next time they start preaching to you. It's great. Can you tell me what the Third Amendment is? James, what is the Third Amendment? What's the third thing in the Bill of Rights?
That the government cannot force you to quarter their soldiers.
Right.
Yeah. And throughout all of human history, so many countries and kings and governments did this. It was almost just rote. It was a trite. It was almost a ritual. And it's just not happening as much in the 21st century as it happened back then. Is there any countries right now that are forcing residents to quarter their soldiers? I mean, maybe
no, but you
Taliban
understand
here and there.
You can tell that the founding fathers never expected to have a standing permanent army. They didn't think they were going to build bases and barracks and stuff like that. They just thought a call to arms was all they needed if they were ever in trouble. And when there was a call to arms, if you were having a fight in a field outside of, Concord, Massachusetts, you would have to stay at people's houses. You would just show up.
The only evidence they have of any army was they wanted like a corps of officers who were there was always going to be some trained people
who could raise a militia, local militia.
Exactly. So they supported West Point, but they didn't ever have the big sweeping million-man military we have today. They didn't dream of that. It was time for it was just like when the Roman Republic happened. That citizens would just go get the armor off from above their fireplace and put it on, get the old family sword, and let's go fight. And when it's over, you come back, you hang it back up, get back to the crops and the cows. And
although I think you made them, I think you're incorrect there. You could have probably used any other army, but the Romans were the first to have the legions, an actual standing army that had barracks and all that.
No, that wasn't a mistake. That's why I said Roman Republic and not Roman Empire.
Yeah. Look at
there were 700 years of that before the legions came about.
Yeah, you're right. I stand corrected. I tried to trip you up and I couldn't. All right. So, are you all here? Let me play this, dude. Everything that I know about American history, at least the basis for everything that I know about American history, is due to one thing from my childhood, and that is this stuff. This is Schoolhouse Rock. Were you familiar with this? Is this something that you knew, or is this am I too old for you?
Do you know about the USA? Do you know about the government? Can you tell me about the Constitution?
Wait, what are you saying?
Okay, so I barely remember this. Like, I remember these coming on, but I don't have them all memorized. And it was a few years ago I went back and watched them all, and there were a couple of them I didn't remember at all. I remembered the bill. I remembered conjunction, junction.
Uh-huh.
I remember there were some nasty ones about like your digestive system, but I don't remember all the words. And then there was his name was Time for Timer. Hanker.
Yeah, not related. That's not Schoolhouse Rock.
But it seemed to be that sort of style, that sort of genre, where we're just going to give kids little messages on health and nutrition in between cartoons with really crummy animation that's kind of orangey and brown, real heavy on the orange and browns and yellows, just very 70s color.
Yeah, very muted. Very.
And so when I'm more of an 80s child, and so everything was supposed to be bright pink and neon green and orange and stuff. And so that stuff really stood out, like, oh, look at these old cartoons.
Time for Timer. It's funny that you bring that up because Schoolhouse Rock was an ABC vehicle during ABC Saturday and Sunday morning cartoons for any kid that grew up in the 80s. The Time for Timer thing was more of a syndicated late 70s, 80s thing. And Time for Timer was always about afternoon snacks, like stuff that, wasn't that it? That there was a nutrition
sort of thing? A hunk of cheese. Like cheese is a great snack.
Wasn't the opening to Time? It's Time for Timer, and I'm so hungry I could eat a wagon wheel. And then they'd make like these Ritz crackers with cheese, which is actually a terrible snack by today's nutrition standards.
Yeah, it's just open empty carbs stacked around cheese, which is sugar and fat. So
which is just garbage.
This
is the basis for almost all of my knowledge. So for Constitution Day, let's all sing.
1787, I'm told our founding fathers did agree to write a list of principles for keeping people free. The USA was just starting out a whole brand new country, and so our people spelled it out, the things that we free.
Here we go.
And they put those principles down on paper and called it the Constitution. And it's been helping us run our country ever since then. The first part of the Constitution is called the Preamble and tells what those founding fathers set out to do. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility.
Next line. What's the next line?
No idea.
Provide for the common defense. Come on, man. This really doesn't
my
ring.
time. This came out before I was born.
So, okay, but this is the reason I know the preamble to the Constitution. You're telling me you don't know the preamble?
They're just singing the preamble? Yeah, I don't have that all memorized.
That's all this is. Okay, well, here we go. Maybe you would. If you had this drummed into you between Scooby-Doo and Captain Caveman at 8 years old, you would maybe be a better American citizen.
Provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare and secure the blessings of liberty. To ourselves and our posterity do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. In 1787, I'm told our founding fathers all sat down and wrote a list of principles that's known the world around. The USA was just starting out a whole brand new country.
Incorrect map, but okay.
And so our people spelled it out. They wanted a land
No
of
such thing as
liberty.
Utah or New Mexico back then, but okay.
And the preamble goes like this.
Preamble, here we go.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility.
Was that?
Didn't we already do this? They're singing it again?
Dude, it's called a hook. I thought you were a musician. This is how you brainwash kids into knowing the preamble. You create a jam that has a real catchy hook.
I hear you.
Provide for the common defense,
Military?
promote the general welfare and secure the blessings of liberty. To ourselves and our posterity do ordain and establish this Constitution for the
70s, baby, right on.
United States of America. For the United States of America.
Okay, so my whole point with playing that, and it is a Constitution here in the United States of America, we need that shit again. We need kids. If you're too young for that, you're too young to remember when civics was a required course in public schools, right? You never had a civics course, right?
No, it was called government. I had government when I was a senior.
Oh, when you
Government
were a
economics.
senior, civics was supposed to be in the elementary schools all the way through. It was like one of the stems. You were expected to be raised as a good citizen, and then they started getting rid of all of that crap, And now we've got people who don't know what the Third Amendment in the Bill of Rights is, and I swear to God, I know the preamble to this day because of that song. And when you're 8 years old, that's a banger, man. Everybody would.
That's a banger.
It was. And 8 years old, man. I'll tell you, when they would come on, there was a little so you'd be in a commercial break, and then you'd be with your brothers or your sisters, or the kid that slept over in my case, or my aunt in that case, who was just a few years older than me. We'd be sitting there with our bowls of cereal, and they'd go to a commercial break, and you looked forward to commercial breaks because those things appeared in commercials, and they were every bit as cool as the cartoon you were watching. It wasn't ham-fisted. It wasn't like the minorities are destroying America. It was a really terrific way of sort of putting out there the stuff that every citizen as they grow needs to learn about.
So you're saying we should make a 2021 Schoolhouse Rock?
No, I'm saying that civics needs to come back to American public schools.
But they're not going to do that, and we can't sit on our butt and wait for the public schools to do what you just said. We need to make our own little schoolhouse rocks. We can make songs. Let's write some songs and make them, and we'll explain to people when you gripe about how both candidates suck, then you didn't participate in the primary system, and that was when you were supposed to do something. And if you knew any better, you wouldn't be griping now.
Can you make a Schoolhouse Rock version song about election fraud or maybe the January 6th riots?
Well, we'll try. Heck yeah.
That might be fun. Oh, we've got that to look forward to. No, but the other great thing about the Schoolhouse Rock stuff when I was little, and anybody who's my age knows, I mean, when the commercials would come and you'd get the opening for Schoolhouse Rock, you would hope against hope that it was one of your favorite ones, because there was like 10 that would rotate in and you never knew whether it was going to be I'm Just a Bill, the Constitution, Lovely Lady Liberty was another one about, how we're Lovely Lady Liberty is about the message of the Statue of Liberty, one that wouldn't play very well, the Melting Pot, where people from all over the world, immigrants and all that. I mean, it was true in 77, but now, maybe not as popular a concept as it was when Schoolhouse Rock was putting that out. But I'll tell you, man, those were great. My son, when he was about 8 or 9 years old, I hipped him to those on YouTube and he devoured them. I mean, the music is tremendous. I mean, I know it sounds a little bit cheesy.
No, look, that was a good banjo. I'm with you. And even though they call it Schoolhouse Rocks, apparently they wanted to cross genres because there are a couple of little funky ones in there too.
Oh yeah, there are. Yeah, there are. What's the one that's pretty funky? Something about Rufus Xavier Sarsaparilla, and then it rhymes with something with gorilla, and I don't know, it was about animals, but it was a good one. It was about,
I didn't see that one.
So that's how I'm going to celebrate Constitution Day today. I'm just going to go. I'm going to go in the other room and probably just watch a whole bunch of Schoolhouse Rocks.
I'm going to go in my bedroom, look at my bed, and go, "Yep, no soldiers."
No, yeah, no soldiers allowed. You got that sign on your yard, don't you?
Thank you, Constitution.
Repeal the Third Amendment to the Constitution.
No, I'm a big Third Amendment supporter.
That's right.
The
Third Amendment says we can't be forced to. Dude, what if we make that our thing? We just, because everybody's got an amendment thing. What if we just become big Third Amendment? They're trying to repeal the Third Amendment and be like, no, it's sacrosanct. We must not be allowed, because nobody's trying to force us to have.
We would have to trick someone into saying they want to repeal the Third Amendment first.
Oh, you think that would be hard? You think it'd be hard in 2021?
No, it wouldn't be hard to trick, but let's trick someone into saying it.
Let me work it out.
What about the congressman that thought Guam would tip over? We can get him to say that.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, Hank Johnson. It was like 10 years ago, but it just got wore out on the radio.
Very good. Yeah. Well, one of the most popular things going on is, the Flat Earthers are back. I saw that was trending last night.
That would be a great Schoolhouse Rock.
There you go.
The Earth is round. Here's how we know.
Oh, wait, I think we got one. I think there was a Schoolhouse Rock about the Earth being round.
Shut up.
Yeah, I think it's the one about Columbus.
Down or whatever.
I think it's the one about Columbus.
Oh, yeah. So there's a 1492 song? Are you pulling this up? You better be pulling this up over there.
Why not, right? Why not? Why not? We've just got a few minutes here. I see that he's back too, but he's on the phone. So, all right, let's see what we got here. So the Constitution. Okay, so it's all Constitution stuff, obviously. Here's a good one. Here's a good one.
Okay.
All right, so we'll do this one. We'll listen to this. And, of course, we get the ad here.
And then go back and do the Time for Timer, Hanker for a Hunk of Cheese.
Yeah.
I think if you play them back to back, it will expose Hanker for a Hunk of Cheese as the hack move it was.
You think that's a bad bit of alliteration for a song? Is that what you're saying?
No. The whole series looks like it was trying to copy Schoolhouse Rock. The way you explained it, how Schoolhouse Rock was the ABC product, but the Time for Timer was some sort of syndication thing.
Yeah, it was because I remember the Time for Timer being on the local UHF affiliate, as opposed to the other one, which was network, and the UHF thing was all syndicated. So, all right, so here, let's do this one. This is a good one. No More Kings. Are you familiar with this one? Here we go.
I do not remember this.
Let's listen to this one.
Rocking and a rolling, smishing and a splashing over the horizon. What can it be? The pilgrims sailed the sea to find a place to call their own. In their ship Mayflower, they hope to find a better home. They finally knocked on Plymouth Rock, and someone said, we're there. It may not look like home, but at this point I don't care. Oh, they were missing Mother England. They swore their loyalty until the very end. Anything you say, King, it's okay, King. You know it's kind of scary.
I know all the words still.
Gonna build a new land the way we planned. Could you help us run it till it's grown?
King George looks like the full retard history has revealed him to be in this.
And bit by bit they worked until the colonies were done. They looked around, yeah, up and down, and someone said, hooray! If the king could only see us now, he would be proud of us today. They knew that
we do know the truth about King George now. It's not all there.
George the Third still vowed he'd
didn't he like die in the mental hospital?
Anything I say, do it my way now. Anything I say, do it my way. Don't you get to feeling independent, cause I'm gonna force you to obey.
Ooh.
He taxed their property, he didn't give them any choice. And back in England, he didn't give them any voice. That's called taxation without representation, and it's not fair. But when the colonies complained, the king said,
I don't care.
He even has the nerve to tax our cup of tea.
Oh, the nerve.
To put it kindly, King, we really don't agree. Gonna show you how we feel. We're gonna dump this tea and turn this harbor into the biggest cup of tea in history. They wanted no more Mother England. They knew the time had come for them to take command. It's very clear you're being unfair, King, no matter what you say.
Look at this. Yeah, look what they do.
Gonna hold a revolution now, King, and we're gonna run it all away with no more King.
We're gonna elect a president.
Elect the president.
He's gonna do what the people want.
Sure.
No more King.
We're gonna run things our way.
Nobody's gonna tell us what to do. Rocking and a rolling, swishing and a splashing over the horizon. What can it be? Looks like it's going to be
A free country. Yeah, very good. There it is. Happy Constitution Day, everybody. We've got E back. Now, E, I could have used you for the Schoolhouse Rock education segment here where we're talking about it being Constitution Day. That's right in your wheelhouse, right? I mean, you remember Schoolhouse Rock, bowl of cereal Saturday morning.
I do remember Schoolhouse Rock.
Did you have a favorite? I like the shot heard around the world now that we're thinking about it. That was about the revolution. That was about how the revolution started.
I don't remember. I remember Schoolhouse Rock, but I don't remember, honestly, any of the songs until you started playing them while I was listening.
Well, okay.
Some of them came back.
So you are a couple of years older than me, so that when I was 8, you were probably you already had a girlfriend, probably. You were like maybe 11 or 12 or whatever. I'm 8 years old with my bowl of cereal jamming out to the shot heard around the world. And you were probably, getting on your Huffy 10-speed trying to scope out chicks at the park.
Yeah, I think I was playing Spin the Bottle in my grandmother's basement.
Yeah. And James was just in diapers. James had no idea what was going on. So here we are. That just hits my generation right there, right smack dab in the face. We're running out of time here. I don't know what else we can get into. I wanted to talk about furries. Furries are trending today. Anybody got any takes on furries, James? I'm surprised at what are furries? You know what they are?
Does everyone know what furries are?
Yeah, people that dress up like animals.
Yeah, and then bang in hotel rooms.
Yeah, it's got to be a sex thing. No one does that just for funsies.
Yeah.
But the whole furries thing, is they're waiting on their Moses. They're waiting on that, for the trans people it was Caitlyn Jenner. For gay people, there's a handful of gay people that sort of led the way. Who's going to be the first famous, well-known furry that comes out and tries to normalize it? Because that dude's going to come out. Then there's going to be a few other people who are like, yeah, I'm into it too. Yeah, I'm into it too. But there's not going to be a big cascade of people who have their
furry Jesus is the San Diego Chicken. There was a time in the 80s when the San Diego Chicken was one of the biggest celebrities in the world.
Yeah, but he wasn't in Penthouse. I'm talking about the furry lifestyle, not people that just like to dress up. I mean, that dude was paid to dress up. You think he wore that at home to go turn on his wife? Probably not.
Do you know, I incorrectly described him as the San Diego Chicken. He was the first. You probably remember the emergence of the San Diego Chicken in the 80s. He was the mascot for the San Diego Padres. And although the Padres weren't great, they may have won a World Series back then, somewhere around 84 or something. I think they did. Padres, Detroit Tigers. I think it was the Padres who won that.
No idea.
Anyway, the San Diego Chicken became a breakout star because he was very entertaining. I mean, there were mascots before, but the San Diego Chicken was doing some real in-your-face stuff with the crowd. And, he had the big beak and he'd put people's heads in his beak. And, half the time, if it was a bad game, the camera would just follow the San Diego Chicken around the stands. And that was more entertaining.
Yeah, he would mess with the ump. I remember,
so that was the breakout. That was the breakout Moses for mascots.
Hold on. Let me finish the story about the San Diego Chicken. San Diego Chicken got a little bit big for his britches, and he demanded more money from the San Diego Padres to continue the character, and they fired him. And that made him go into his garage and create another costume where for years he just became the Chicken, and he toured all the major league stadiums around the country. So you could see it was no longer the San Diego Chicken, and San Diego actually ended that character, but the Chicken lived on for a good decade. I saw the Chicken at Comiskey Park in 1988.
Did they have a 30 for 30 on this?
They should.
Yet. They don't have one yet. That guy rules.
That's a really good idea.
But that's what the furry community is waiting on. They have to have their person who's already established, who comes out and admits this latent lifestyle that they've been hiding from everyone. And it has to be someone big. It's got to be even bigger than like the Bruce Jenner to Caitlyn thing, because like he was a celebrity kind of, and then the Kardashian thing was sort of what made him survive being that vanguard. So
Bruce Jenner was brought back by the Kardashians. Bruce Jenner had been forgotten for 20 years, right?
He was. I mean, what was the Wheaties box was 1981? That was the last time anyone thought of him. But it's going to have to be someone. I'm talking like Justin Timberlake big, or maybe like a Katy Perry big. There's going to have to be the furry Moses, and it's going to happen one day.
Could be Little Nas X. He dabbles in. I just saw a picture of him. He was wearing like this. He was completely wrapped in feather boas. So he looked very furry and. Didn't have a head helmet.
Straight laced guy. I wouldn't imagine him doing anything.
Yeah, sure. Why would that? Nothing weird about Little Nas X. He seems totally cool. All right, that's it. We've been through most of it. The updates that we had from today on the Gabby Petito case. Gabby was spotted on the 26th at what was it called? Rusted Row.
Yeah, Rustic Row in Victor, Idaho.
Yeah, Rustic Row on Victor, Idaho, where she told the shopkeeper there that they were engaged. She was very excited about it. So we kind of riffed on that a little bit. The other thing that we learned is, and I think this was your piece that you offered me this morning, the Chris who was named in the police report can no longer be thought to be just a shielded version of Crystal, who was one of the dead lesbians. Chris has been revealed to be a Christopher, who is a man. So, and he was on the street, according to the story. Let's see.
So that kind of puts a little bit of a hex on, well, he got mad at them because they called him in.
Yes, it puts distance between the overlap in those two stories.
The other thing that I saw, I don't know if you reported this, was that Gabby's friend, whose birthday was, I think, on the 26th, was supposed to meet Gabby at Yellowstone Park, and she never called, no-showed. And she thought that she had maybe gotten too busy. And then she found it odd that the next day she had texted her mother, but she didn't text her after not meeting her on her birthday.
Yeah,
First
because
I've heard of that.
Brian would be more concerned about making sure the mother was off the scent than he probably would be thinking about some friends that they were going to meet.
And she also said that Gabby's friend, that she did consider Brian a friend.
So Gabby's friend said that Brian was just a friend and not engaged, even though we now know that on the 20th.
No, she considered him a friend of hers as well.
Okay. Not the relationship status of Gabby and Brian.
Well, yeah,
Right.
and one
So
thing
they
we
were
left out-
supposed to meet up. They were supposed to meet up at Yellowstone because it was Gabby's friend's birthday. And on the day of her birthday, she never heard from her. And then after her birthday, she actually texted the mom.
Okay.
Yeah, and the other detail on the sighting at Rustic Row in Victor, Idaho, which is about 250 miles northeast of Salt Lake City.
And that's a drive because they would have been at the Fairfield Inn in Salt Lake City when Brian returned from Florida. And then they immediately the next day were spotted at Rustic Row. And you could make that in a day's drive, right?
Yeah, that's probably 4 or 5. 5-6 hour drive.
200 miles, 200 something miles.
250 miles, maybe.
Okay.
But the owner was behind the cash register, and she said that Gabby said that they're engaged.
Where was this?
You were saying that earlier at the Rustic Row in Victor, Idaho. She had made a public proclamation to the lady at the cash register.
Yeah,
that we're engaged.
It was described as they had a very nice interaction with the shopkeeper, and as Gabby was walking out to the car, she poked her head out of the van and announced for everyone to hear, "We're engaged!" And she was described as being in a very good mood and very excited. Now, there was some discussion between E and I today about where did the fact that they had broken off the engagement comes from. And I have that here. It comes from the Daily Mail. Schmidt is, what's the mom's name? The mom's last name is Schmidt, but I don't know what her first name is. I apologize. I don't want to look back on it. Schmidt said that Laundrie's parents had been warm and welcoming to Petito during their relationship, recalling a time when his mother even knitted her future daughter-in-law gifts for Christmas. She loved her like a daughter, Schmidt said. As far as I knew, they were all very caring and treated her like one of their family. His mom was so excited about the engagement. Schmidt added that the couple, who had been together for a little over 2 years and were engaged, decided to call off the engagement and go back to just dating and being friends. She said they felt like they were too young for marriage. Quoting the mom now, "I think they kind of put that on hold just because they felt it was a little fast. They were excited at first, but then they were like, let's just wait. We're very young." So they were really just boyfriend and girlfriend at this point.
Oh, boyfriend and girlfriend that are living together and traveling the United States in a van for 5 months.
Yeah.
I mean, you're married without being married.
And something's already
essentially
made you
without the paperwork, right?
Right. Something's already made you ticked off enough that you were willing to break off an engagement.
Yeah.
So we knew they weren't getting along.
But yes, I mean, there was a downgrade, according to her mom, according to Gabby's mom. And who would know more about this than the mother of the bride? The bride would tell the mom all the most deep her questions that she has. Like, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, Mom. So all we know is it had been reported, and I had been saying that they were just friends, because that's what Cassie, the sister of Brian, had also stated to the Daily Mail, that they were really just friends. But the mom is now, I'm going with the mom over Cassie. The mom is saying that they had downgraded the relationship from being engaged to being boyfriend and girlfriend. So now we don't really have a good handle on what the status of the relationship was.
Well, I don't even really call it a real downgrade. I think it's
okay. Brian, I bet he did. I bet he did.
Well, but you say, okay, we're going to get married and we're 22 or she's 22 and I don't know how old he is. How old is he?
23. He's 1 year old.
23. So you're 22 and 23. You decide you're going to get married. You start telling people you're going to get married. And the first thing you're then hearing is, when's the big day? When's the big day? When's the big day? And then you're going, we don't know. We don't know. We don't know. And then between the two of you, you're like, we need to probably pull this down a little bit, because we probably got ma, grandma, everybody in the family going, when are you going to plan the wedding? And so it just kind of gets cumbersome.
All right, we just wanted to bring you up to speed on that. I appreciate you coming back. I really didn't expect it. I figured you'd be out doing something with the boy. All right, that's going to be it for this week's high noon edition of the show. Again, it's Friday night, so there is no pillow talk. We do Pillow Talk. That's the 10 p.m. version of the show. We do that every Sunday through Thursday night. And in the high noon broadcast here, not a broadcast, stream. Always fall into that. We are not casting broadly. We are streaming directly. It's totally different terminology. Thank you, James. I appreciate you jumping in, pulling out some yeoman service here. Thank you. What do you got going on this weekend, James? Anything?
Well, I'm doing my regular radio show, Winning It Life with Gregory Ricks, financial talk show. It's on tonight from 7 to 8, on tomorrow from 10 to 1 Central Time. Download the Winning It
Now,
Life
if you're
app.
not in the New Orleans area, how do you listen to it online if people want to get your financial tips?
You can download the Winning It Life app. It's a free app, and there's a listen live button on the front screen, and it just pops right up.
So you give stock tips?
Huh?
You give stock tips on this show?
That's not what the show's about. We can give stock tips. Are you looking for a stock? Is that what you're looking for?
No, I'm just, when you say a financial show, I didn't know how to get people out of debt. What is it?
It's like watching Fox Business or CNBC, except people call in and ask my co-host, who's a financial advisor, crazy financial questions, and he has the answers to most of this stuff. So it's like Loveline, but it's instead of sex and drugs, it's money, which is almost as interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say probably more interesting as you get older.
Yeah. How about you, E? We got any boys? We got any kids football games this weekend?
Yeah, I got a football game tomorrow. I got practice today at 4. I think I'm going to go to Highland Park Scott's football game tonight. They have something.
Can I come, or is that a family thing?
No, it's not a family. Dominic and I are going to go, so we can make it a boys' night. And they have something called Bubba Fest, which Bubba's Chicken, in Snyder's Plaza over there, is kind of put together a box.
Okay.
And you buy the box of food, then you get to go to the game. So fried chicken, football, and more football.
Man, that sounds like a hell of a Texas weekend in September, doesn't it? Boy, oh boy. All right. Thank you, James. Thank you, E. Thank you to everybody who joined us today. We'll be back talking with you for the next time, Sunday night at 10 p.m. for the first of the week Pillow Talk edition. We appreciate you. And this has been Pugs and Company with James Parker and E, the artist, on the Radio Misfits Network.